It's that time of year where we got to get our bodies moving. Well, heck, we should be moving all the time, okay? But this time of year, we're really looking into heart health and how we can help manage our heart health and why it's so important. And so joining me today is Jeff Bosick. He is a warrior, if you will, a heart attack and cardiac arrest survivor who will be letting us know about his journey, and also Owen Billman, who is the chair of the Heart Walk for this year. Thank you, gentlemen, both for joining me here today on the Washington Report.
Thanks for having us.
All right. So, Jeff, I'm going to start with you. Please give us a bit of your story and why it is that the American Heart Association has entered your life in such a meaningful way.
Sure, Stevie, and thank you for the platform. So, at a young age, in high school, it became very clear to me that heart health was going to be an important aspect of my life. My father, at age 42, had a heart attack and went through quadruple bypass surgery. He's alive and well today at 78, but I knew at that point that genetically and going forward, I'm going to have to try to take care of myself, especially from a heart health perspective. So I did everything I could in terms of eating and exercising and having every test that you can have that basically looked at my heart health and trying to ensure that I wouldn't be in the same position as his. Unfortunately, on Father's Day a few years ago, I was cutting the grass, and I started to feel nauseous, some chest pain, sweating, and I walked into my house, and I told my wife I just didn't feel well, and she said, well, it's a really hot day. Why don't you just jump in the shower, and I'm sure you'll feel better. So I did that, and when I got out, I still just didn't feel right. So I told her, I said, look, I think something's really wrong with me. I think you might need to call 911. So after that, see, I don't remember anything for 3 weeks.
Oh, my goodness.
So what I'm going to tell you is what was told to me, which was told to me by my wife, and unfortunately my 3 children were all present and witnessed this. So at that time, I was having a heart attack, but what became really bad is I went into cardiac arrest. So heart attack is, a muscle thing. Cardiac arrest is when your heart stops. So my heart stopped.
Oh, my gosh.
So my wife called 911, and she's not a nurse. She has no medical training, but luckily the person that answered the phone on 911 was medically trained to talk through CPR, and that's an initiative that the AHA has pushed. So she walked my wife through. My wife gave me CPR for 10 minutes until an ambulance arrived. I was shocked several times, rushed to the hospital, and then spent the next 3 weeks really trying to recover from significant damage to my heart, and also a lot of damage because of a lack of oxygen to my brain and organs. So during that journey, I was airlifted from one hospital to another. I was put on machinery that basically kept me alive.
My goodness.
They thought I was going to have to get a heart transplant. But throughout the journey, luckily, we live in an area, Stevie, where we have access to the best care, right? Baltimore, D.C. So I was in great hands. The survival rate of what I went through was single digit. So upon me leaving, it was referenced many times that it's a miracle that you're alive, and that
wow.
I was fortunate to be able to have the care around me that allowed me to survive. Many people that would be in rural America or in outskirts would not have had the same survivability that I would have. So I'm lucky in many ways. But also, it's unfortunate that I had to go through this, and I hope one day I tell this story and people can't relate. Unfortunately, most people can.
Right.
So I hope nobody has to have their children witness this or their wife have to save their lives. But it's an unfortunate aspect of the world in which we live in with heart disease. So I'm here to spread my story and hopefully raise some money so that we can put this disease to rest one day.
Right. I'm just circling in my brain and thinking about the stress, but I also that your wife was going through to assist you. And I also need to give her just all the grace to stay maintained and focused enough to be able to listen and actually follow through with the instructions that are given over a phone, and I just really, have to applaud her as well. And I know it's super scary, having been in an event such as that myself, but just being able to have that calmness and take control. But then again, I also had the opportunity for CPR first aid training based on my prior field of expertise besides doing this radio thing. So for you, Jeff, I know this is going to be a dumb question, but is your family all first aid CPR trained?
They are now. They were not before. And interestingly, my daughter at the time was in high school. And, I've been, again, lucky to now have her go to college and be able to witness that. But she went into nursing. And one of the reasons she's going into nursing is because of what she witnessed that day and the fact that she did see my wife save my life and the gift that CPR and medical training can provide. So they all are CPR trained, and we advocate strongly along with the AHA and everybody. I think it takes 90 seconds. There's something on the website, the AHA website, but it's the most important, in my opinion, 90 seconds that you can spend is to learn hands-only CPR. Because it can truly, I'm a witness, and I think you may have been exposed to, can save people's lives.
Yes, absolutely it can. Oh, and I'm going to circle around to you now, getting that heart healthy with that heart walk that is going to be taking place. So please share with our listeners about you and how you are a part of the American Heart Association, specifically the Heart Walk.
Thanks, Stevie. And, I've known Jeff for a while now, and we've collaborated on our fundraising efforts and are working on this event together. And his story still gets me every time. And it ties in a bit to my passion for what we're doing here. And I appreciate you having us on, as Jeff said. So I'm the chair for the 2024 Greater Washington Region Heart Walk, which will be taking place on Saturday, November 2nd on the National Mall. I got involved with the Heart Association when I first came to work for the company where I work today. I had no experience with heart disease, no direct experience with heart disease, cardiac arrest, heart attacks from my family, which I'm very fortunate to say. So I learned all about it through my company's involvement in things like Heart Walk, which is kind of one of the broader points to having events like this, to educate people who otherwise wouldn't know what to do or what to look for or things like that. So it's an easy organization and cause to latch onto because so many people are affected by heart disease. I joined the board many years ago, and I chaired the Heart Walk in 2019, and I'm chairing the event again this year. And tagging on a bit to Jeff's story, when I became a young father, I started to have concerns about being around for all the things that Jeff's talking about. So his story was my fear. Like, hey, I want to make sure I'm living a healthy lifestyle to be around, and you meet somebody so wonderful like Jeff who's willing to share his experience. It really drives all of that home. And through our efforts with Heart Walk, we've found ways to make an impact by raising funds and raising awareness, so that when the next time this does happen, people are more prepared to act, or ideally, we raise the funds necessary to help cut this off at an earlier point so that people live a healthier lifestyle.
I really am just really enthralled with both of you sharing your stories, but also taking action. And when does this, speaking of taking action, when does this event take place? What can people expect? Where do they sign up? What do they do?
Sure. So it's Saturday, November 2nd. Typically it's the first Saturday in November, and that's again this year. It takes place on the National Mall. You can sign up at greaterwashingtonheartwalk.org. And what you can expect is it's a fun and inspirational day, is the way I like to describe it, because you are surrounded by friends and family and people who become your friends and family who are all dedicated or have experienced something related to this cause that is so meaningful. So there are lots of opportunities to hear and experience and have shared with you survivor stories like Jeff's. But it's also a great time to get out with your family. We have a kids zone. We have a dog depot area. So we have lots of ways to make it an interactive day, because it is, unfortunately, it's a heavy subject matter, and we really want engagement. So making it a fun, interactive day is really important. So the takeaway isn't, golly, I heard that story Jeff told, and it really makes me worried about the future. It's, gosh, if I just spend this 90 seconds to learn hands-only CPR, I can be the person in my household. We hope every household has someone trained in hands-only CPR, because you're far more likely to have a cardiac event in your home than elsewhere. We hope that translates into, realized opportunities for people to have a better lifestyles and better outcomes. So we hope for good weather always, but we always know it'll be an inspirational day, if nothing else.
Right. And so what time do people pre-register? Where do they go? Where is it going to physically be held? And
sure.
How long? And how long is the route?
You can pre-register now. You can go onto
okay.
You can go onto greaterwashingtonheartwalk.org, and you can register there. It starts, I'll be there bright and early as the event chair. But I would say coming down anywhere in the 8 to 9 o'clock time frame is a good time to come down and hit the warm-up and get ready for the walk. There is a 1 mile and a 3 mile option.
Just my speed.
That's like many of us do, guys. and if you have your kids or your dogs, maybe you're a 1 miler, and if you're up for something more adventurous that morning, but it's on the mall. So if you can't beat it, you're down on the National Mall, all the sites. You've got the Washington Monument, you've got the Capitol Dome, we've got the big stage set up, we've got music, we've got the kids zone. So it's a very interactive and just a gorgeous day. And you can get signed up right now.
Okay. I love that idea as well. So, Jeff, are you going to have a team walking with you? Or are you going to be at the table helping sign people in?
Both Owen and I get strong support from our families and also the companies that which we work for. So there'll be a sea of people out there that both we know personally and professionally. And that's one of the great things I like about the walk is in today's environment, we spend a lot of time over the phone or Zoom. Yeah. This is a great chance to get around a good cause, and it's a great sense of community. And I think we could all use that in today's day and age. So,
right.
I'll be there, and usually my wife, Stevie, is who everyone wants to talk to, right? Which I get, and I let her have that, right? Because she saved my life literally.
Right. I get it completely. Gentlemen, we're kind of wrapping up here on time. Owen, is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners before we wrap up? And Jeff, I'll give you an opportunity as well.
Yeah, I would just encourage everyone we'd love to see you at the walk. We'd love to have you sign up and participate. I would just encourage everyone to find a time in their days and weeks to just get out and walk. Like, it doesn't have to be Heart Walk. I try to get out of my office once a day. DC is a wonderful place to go for a walk and get out. It helps me, professionally, it helps me clear my head. But I find it energizes me, gives me more clarity personally and professionally. And it's a great, low-risk, low-cost way to just make incremental improvements on your lifestyle and your health that ideally will give you better outcomes. So maybe Heart Walk is the way to kick off that effort. Maybe if you're already a walker, it's just another way to get out that day. But I'm personally hoping it translates for a lot of people into just making those incremental improvements in their own life, which hopefully will lead us all to having happier, healthier lifestyles and less incidents of heart disease, cardiac arrest, and some of the scarier things that we talk about. So beyond that, there's CPR training and all these other things, but just get out and walk a little bit. It'll help you get through your days that much easier.
Yes, absolutely. I went to www.heart.org, and it's for the 2024 Greater Washington Region Heart Walk, which takes place Saturday, November 2nd. Check in at 8:30. The walk begins at 10 a.m. on the National Mall, 10th Street Northwest between Madison and Jefferson. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me here today on the Washington Report.
Thanks very much.